I'm going to have a message here from Supreme Commander of all U.S. military forces, Putin the cat, right, buddy? Actually, that guy, the human Putin, came from his litter box. So that's how you know the human Putin was born. But just the guy that you're supposed to pay attention to. Anybody in the military that listens to that guy in the White House, they're a traitor. Here's the real leader, Putin the cat. He's wise, he's an owl, except he's a cat, he's even more wise. I'm going to go over some of the generals that have been fired in the last couple of years. And talk about politically incorrect. I mean, it's gotten to the point where if you're trying to save your own troops, it's politically incorrect. And I want to also backtrack on something else. You remember that date, September 11th? If you hear that guy, he's running around here checking out the area, the cat that is. You remember that date, September 11, 2012, in Benghazi, right? Now, Hillary Clinton is thinking everybody's going to forget about this, and probably they will, because she was involved in it. But anyway, September 11, 2012, right? On a Tuesday, exactly 11 years after September 11th, 2001, right? Which was 11 years after September 11th, 1990. And September 11th, 1990, George Bush's New World Order speech, you know? And we have to have the law of the land, the law of the world, the New World Order, and all that kind of crap. He talked about the New World Order in that speech. On Tuesday, the day of Mars. I'm getting a little conspiracy stuff before I get into this stuff with the generals, okay? Just bear with it, because actually I think this stuff, what I'm going to relate to you here, even though it's a preface for this, it's somewhat related. Some of this crap, I don't want to use that word, it's a bad word, I'll be taken out in the military because I said crap. But some of this stuff, right, that they put out with the conspiracies, with the numbers, most of it's garbage. Sometimes I think it's legit. September 11th, 1990, George Herbert Walker Bush talks about the New World Order. 11 years later, September 11th, also on a Tuesday, the day of Mars, September 11th, 2001, World Trade Center goes down, right? You know, they had to get rid of the buildings, partly even just because of asbestos, you know. Even that alone was enough of a reason to get rid of those buildings. But there was a lot more to it than that. That was a minor reason. 11 years later, September 11th, 2012, and I know the tax started on that date. Actually, it was more like into September 12th. 11 years later, there was that Illuminati number. We had the attack on Benghazi. And if you remember, across the internet, they had this countdown clock, the Illuminati countdown clock, and everybody was trying to think, what the hell does that mean? The Olympics in London, they're going to have a bomb go off or something on the last day of the Olympics in London. Well, that countdown clock, I think it was 9/9/11, it went off. I think it was like, that was the countdown date. It turned out to be the release of the movie Mohammed, the Prophet Mohamed, which pissed off all the people in Islam land, you know, to get them all mad. And actually, that movie was not made originally as the Prophet Mohammed. The actors were actually saying words other than that. They were actually it was actually called the Desert Warrior. They thought it was going to be some B movie about the Desert Warrior. They didn't have any idea. They dubbed that all in later about the Prophet Muhammad. That movie's release date, I think it was on a Sunday on 9/9/2012. It coincided with the countdown clock, the same day the countdown clock ended. I found that interesting. And the Prophet Muhammad movie actually had something to do with why Benghazi was attacked. Okay? Interesting, okay? Just want to throw that in here as a preface about all these generals that got fired. Actually, I had a video about General Carter Ham, or whatever, H-A-M-M. He's an Army general. He was head of the United States African Command. He was in charge of the U.S. African Command during the September 11th, 2012 incident in Benghazi when, you know, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, right? Which she looks like she was involved in that. But I guess she's going to kind of think everybody's going to forget. But I'm going to try to make people not forget about this. Anyway, General Ham was extremely critical of Obama. And he said that he could have got reinforcements in that area fast enough. And then he got relieved of command. I put a video out about that before. I'm going to show the link to it. But, you know, it's just a fact. If you want to look at the video, it don't matter to me. But I already acknowledged that fact before. It's not the first time I'm aware of this. That's one. That's one that was relieved. I'm just going to go over the big ones. Rear Admiral Charles Gouet, I guess that's how you say it, United States Navy Commander of Carrier Strike Group 3. He was in a deputy commander of the U.S. Naval Forces U.S. Central Command. He was in charge of the aircraft carriers of the Mediterranean Sea the night of September 11th, 2012. He testified before the hearing committee and said that they may not have been time to get the flight crews there, but left the door open that it possibly could have happened. You see? So he got relieved of command for uttering a racial slur, you know? Probably told, the Navy sailors to go, whitewash the walls or something. I don't know what he said, you know? Major General Ralph Baker, United States Army, commander of the Joint Task Force Horn at Camp Lamar in Africa. I can't even say that town's name. Deborti, whatever. He was in some aspect involved in the September 11th, 2012 incident. Another guy that gets wiped out, right? Relieved of command and fired for groping a civilian. No assault charges or sexual misconduct charges were filed by the Judge Advocate General. So no charges were filed. He was just relieved of command. That's bullshit. You know what's going on there. It's like everybody involved around his September 11, 2012, the higher-ups that said something that they could probably got something in there fast enough, they got slammed, right? Brigadier General Brian Roberts, United States Army General Roberts, took command at Fort Jackson, 2011. He was a rising star in the field. While still on the books in the United States, he got accused of adultery. Now, I can tell you one thing. There's a lot of that goes on because, first off, people deploy in the military and are gone away from their families a long time. They don't pull out that adultery law for nothing. But he got slammed for it, so they had to get him out of there for some reason. Probably because he said something wrong. I'm familiar with this kind of garbage being in the military. It don't matter if you say something right and factual and you use diplomacy and tact. If the higher-ups don't like it, they'll get you somewhere or the other. And it didn't quite get me, but it didn't help me out. Major General Greg Sturdivant, United States Marine Director of Strategic Planning and Policy of the United States Pacific Command and commander of the Aviation Wing at Camp Bastion, Afghanistan. He was a highly decorated soldier with 2 naval and marine commendations, 2 naval and marine good contact medals. Oh, he was a high, I don't like how they put that in there. A lot of people get that kind of stuff, commendations. But anyway, he also had the Air Medal with the Gold Star, served honorably and distinctly. He was asked about supplies to his command. He was one of the 2 commanding officers suddenly relieved of command and fired from the military for failure of proper force protection. My opinion, proper force protection is offense. You kill the fuckers before they kill you. Excuse me, but that's exactly how you're supposed to protect yourself. You're not supposed to be behind a wall, but anyway, I'm sure they were doing that as much as possible. But who the hell is the enemy, right? That's the problem with Afghanistan, right? Major General Charles Gurgandas, United States Marine Corps, Regional Commander of the Southwest and Marine Expeditionary Force in Afghanistan, also highly decorated with Defense Superior Service Medal, 2 Legion of Merit with Valor, 3 Meritorious Service Commendations. Major General was questioned with the use of the Afghan patrols alongside American patrols after 2 officers were executed at their desk and a platoon was led into ambush on the front lines. Yeah, well, they got relieved. These 2, I got a little question on myself too, because it almost reminds me, I don't want to emphasize those 2 as much as the ones around Benghazi. because it almost reminds me of the situation in Beirut, with Afghanistan. A little bit like what happened in Beirut in 1983, where I think it was 200-something Marines were all in one building and they got blown up. And it wasn't as bad as blatant a situation as what happened in Afghanistan. But still, these generals may have been politically incorrect in not going along with the regime. The regime being the Obama regime, who was owned by other people, actually, not him alone. He's not acting alone. Lieutenant General David Holmes Houghton Jr., United States Army, served as the 58th Superintendent of the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York. He had graduated from the same academy in 1973, and he was censored for an investigation into an improper relationship. The nature of the improper relationship, nothing was released about it, nothing was even mentioned in the actual investigation even took place. So in other words, these are politically incorrect generals and stuff, and I want to get into the more important ones. The more important ones are the ones I was talking about with Benghazi. That was interesting because the three that got relieved said they could possibly have gotten forces in the area fast enough to provide support for the ambassador, Christopher Stevens, who was killed, and the others, right? Now, this is what gets interesting here, because this just happened. It was about the generals and the vice admiral and the major general who are in charge of the nuclear arsenal in the United States. The vice admiral, Tim Giardina, United States Navy Deputy Commander of United States Strategic Command. He's the commander of the submarine group Trident, submarine group 9, and submarine group 10. So they got 18 nuclear submarines with nuclear Trident missiles aboard. He was relieved. He had 6 Legions of Merit, 2 Meritorious Service Medals, 2 Joint Service Commendation Medals. He was removed for service and fired from the military for a charge of using counterfeit poker chips. I don't know, man. Anyway, that's why he was fired. You tell me. That smells like... You know what? The conspiracy theorists out there are saying that... I don't know if this is too far of a conspiracy, because he's not the only nuclear commander that got relieved. But they're saying that it's because they were going to go along, they were going to try a false flag attack on the United States using an American nuke and kill people in America. This is a theory now, a conspiracy theory, but, and blame it on somebody over in the Middle East, and this way they could start the war. I don't know. Now, some of these conspiracy theories I think are legit, but it is really fishy that these two, this is the first one, Vice Admiral Tim Giardina, and the other one is Major General Michael Carey, United States Air Force Commander. He's an Air Force Commander, 20th Air Force, in charge of 9,600 people and 450 intercontinental missiles and 3 operational wings. And he served both in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. So he was fired just recently, October 11th, 2013, for personal misbehavior. That's what he was told. I don't know. Can't scratch my eyebrow of misbehaving. These guys, this is bullshit. I mean, the way, poker chips and personal misbehavior, and you got the 2 guys in charge of all the nuclear missiles fired, right? And then you got the Benghazi people. Everybody around Benghazi was high up. Yeah, they got fired. And there's more, but I'm just going over the top ones. Now, the one where I could possibly see something a little fishy, maybe, where I don't know if there's something wrong, because there was a lot of loss of life, and there was a lot of planes that the equipment was destroyed, and I don't know about that. The ones in Afghanistan were fired. That may be, I don't know. I don't like what happened there at all. So, it's easy for me to judge in my armchair here. But, you know, it almost reminds me of the deal what happened with Beirut, you know. After Beirut, and they got blown up in the building, then they had, like, you know, all kinds of walls where checkpoints, and if you couldn't just drive straight in, nobody was all in one place and all this type of stuff. There's always more you can do. The problem is you get bored to death and you don't feel like doing this stuff. That's the problem, actually, in the military. You get bored to death, you know what to do, and a lot of people get lax. That's just how it is. That may be what happened in Afghanistan, but, you know, this thing real recently in October with the Air Force Major General and the Vice Admiral being fired that are in charge of nuclear weapon, intercontinental ballistic missiles and the nuclear weapons and missiles that are on board the Trident mid submarines. That's really fishy. That's really fishy. So there may be something to these conspiracy theories. That's all I got to say. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But something isn't smelling right. Poker chips and personal misbehavior. Oh, man, talk about ridiculous. Talk about ridiculous. That's beyond ridiculous. So, something's going up. Something's going on. Something's coming up. And I have to give the advice to the military. Stick with the Constitution of the United States. If you need a leader and you need a mascot, it's Putin the Cat. Putin the Cat, Supreme Commander of all the Allied forces in the United States of America, which includes civilians. You notice I said Allied forces. That means you got your military and you got your civilians. Because something doesn't smell right with all these mass firings. The nuclear ones and the Benghazi. So, that's your alert for today. Anyway, just keep your eyes out and your ears open and all that kind of stuff.